Welcome to the Great Shrimp Shoal. Today we're going to be getting back to the 30-gallon tank and looking over some of the close-up footage that I gathered from the GoPro camera. It is truly revealing and gives a different look at some of the same things we've been seeing over the last few weeks. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on notifications. Here we go. The lens modification that I made to my GoPro has offered me a new view of the tank that I see from so many different angles, but until now had been limited. As I have mentioned before, it has a very fine plane of focus, which is about an inch or two in front of the camera. But what that does offer is a very crisp look at some features that are uniformly clear on other cameras, but on the GoPro have heightened detail. For instance, you could see before and on other cameras that these Neocaridina have compound eyes, much like other decapods. But the added clarity allows you to see the way that those eyes are formed, and on these Snowball Shrimp, it looks as though they have a very dark spot in the center of a gray collection of the tubes that form the compound eye. Overall, it gives them a really wide-eyed, surprised look. The bamboo shrimp go through phases. Sometimes they are close to the front of the tank, and others they spend clumped up at the back, and sometimes they choose to stay in the same place for days on end, feeding over and over again. I have yet to catch them molting, and when I do find their carapace left behind, it is in some of the oddest places in the tank. This is a shot using a camera setup that I have used multiple times, and you have seen the benefit of it before. It's basically my normal camera setup, but with an additional lens held up by hand in front of it. And the entire thing is very manual in nature. I can move the two lenses back and forth, and it allows me to focus in on a much smaller plane of view, much like the GoPro, but a little bit different. Up close, these animals gain completely different significance, especially their shape and the way that they are constructed over the course of evolution. From far away, they look as a single piece, and it's a wonder that they can function, but up close you get to see the mechanics of each individual limb, and the mouth parts on this shrimp and other decapods are truly revealing as to how they feed. Setting up the GoPro is not easy. It is an older model, so it has limited battery life, and placing it in the tank has the potential to disturb any of the shrimp that I put it near. And I was very lucky in order to place it near the bamboo shrimp in this instance because they have been the most skittish in the previous attempts to film them. In this case, he must have been distracted, or I must have tried so many times that he just got bored and stopped caring about what was placed next to him. Either way, they spend hours just like this, with their fans unfurled, feeding in the current of the water, and it is one of the most peaceful things to view in all of the shrimp tanks that I have. We're going to get even closer in a minute, but first, it's time to check up on the ghost shrimp, who's been puttering around the tank and coming out of hiding every now and again in order to rummage around in the substrate, looking for food. You can see the compound eye very clearly on this shrimp as well, and it appears that that black square in the very center of the eye is looking at us. But that is an illusion. Those are just the tubes that are aligned perpendicular to us. The rest of the tubes are facing in the other directions, gathering light from a bunch of different angles around the surface of the eye. Boy, do I love these ghost shrimp. They are characters. All right, back to the GoPro footage of the bamboo shrimp. For those of you unfamiliar with the bamboo shrimp, they have a very unique adaptation. They are filter feeders and take small particles out of the water column using their fans. Otherwise, the way that they digest food is functionally similar to other shrimp. Their fans are very essentially beefed up versions of the fuzz that lines the chelipeds of other decapods, and if you look closely, their chelipeds are double hinged, so they can be retracted in upon themselves in a particularly interesting position. Now, once locked in this position, the joint for the fan, which is hinged away from the shrimp, is nestled in the pocket created by the mid-arm joint, which hinges forwards. Essentially, what all this means is that when they retract their fans, they almost disappear among their other maxillipeds close to the mouth. And when they open, it is not unlike a double-action umbrella unfurling. Another added benefit is that this action allows the shrimp to keep a large surface area folded up until it is absolutely needed to feed. And you can see by the size of this shrimp that it must feed in abundance, at least more than shrimp of smaller size and more efficiently than shrimp of similar size. The bamboo shrimp are a freshwater shrimp, and they do just fine in the same water parameters as my Neocaridina, but their reproductive cycle means that you're far more likely to catch these in the wild than breed them in captivity, and that is because they hatch into a larval state, and that larval state requires a briny environment, and after that they go through a couple of sheddings to reach their juvenile state. Once they reach their juvenile state, they look a lot like a mono shrimp, but with tiny little fans like their parents. And over the next year, they will grow slowly into stubbier but much larger versions of themselves, eventually growing to be about the size of this shrimp, which is roughly 2 inches long. Right now, the snowball shrimp are the only ones that I can tell whether or not they are female versus male, and you can do so by seeing the eggs in development before they are hatched out into the pleopods where the shrimp carry them before they hatch into the environment. The snowballs are really cool critters too, but when you boil it down, they are essentially different colored Neocaridina. This community is slowly growing, with baby shrimp from at least 2 separate hatchings now somewhere in the tank. Somewhere. I don't know why there aren't more baby shrimp visible. I was working on a theory that the baby shrimp are more sensitive to the water parameters than their adult counterparts. Take for example the much older cherry shrimp I have in the forest tank. She has lasted through some of the pretty hairy situations and come out unscathed. So it stands to reason that these baby shrimp from all of the Neocaridina probably don't handle the algae blooms or mineral fluctuations as easily as the adults. I've also worked out the reason why I don't see scores of dead baby shrimp. They're probably scavenged away by the adults before I ever notice them, which is a sobering thought, but it does wrap everything up into a nice bow, if not a little bit disconcerting one. Here's a trick. Can you spot the bamboo shrimp? Or wait a minute, is that just a puppet? Ah, this is where you get to see what I meant about finding these shells in weird locations. That is a bamboo shrimp carapace that's been left behind after a molting. One member out of the entire community of snowball shrimp has developed an off-white coloring that's almost an orange or a pink. And it was hard to notice at first, but as she grew into an adult, it was easier to notice. It's very beautiful, so I may try to strengthen this quality in further generations of this community, but all that means I will probably need another tank, as I am not about to cull any of the extras, at least in the traditional sense. The individual shrimp is a female, and she recently started carrying eggs for probably what would be the first time, and even her eggs are a different color than those carried by the other snowball shrimp. Overall, I will just have to do a better job of making sure the babies are surviving any future hatchings if I'm going to see any further generations of this pinky shrimp. The ghost shrimp was feeding nearby, and you can see one of the things that I like most about this individual. On his antenna that come out in the front, there is a red spot that goes up about a third of the way and then stops. It creates an interesting look that I don't see on any other of the ghost shrimp that I had had before or since. Ghost shrimp share a number of features with saltwater cleaning shrimp, and I can't wait to get a saltwater tank to get a group of those cleaner shrimp to add them to my collection. Saltwater tanks are another breed though, and I've just started to get a handle on these freshwater tanks that I have. It's been a rough few months, but things are now much more stable, and I have gained a new level of confidence in cleaning and keeping them healthy. They say that shrimp keeping is a relatively clean hobby because the shrimp, do not represent the same bioload as fish that are heavy eaters and poopers. And while it is true a little bit, I will never see the kind of waste that a tank that is stocked with much larger fish does. I do have some waste issues that I have overcome. I think now, though, I have a good cadence in changing and cleaning the filter out and the water changes. I also took time to add an almond leaf to the tank for the first time, and it's something that is recommended among all shrimp keepers as it gives a surface area for biofilm to grow on, and I've seen the baby shrimp enjoying it as well as the adults, so it's something that I should have done a lot sooner. It also fills the water with tannins and lowers the pH and inhibits the growth of negative bacteria. So, I feel a little bit sad that I haven't done it sooner. Aha! If you look closely, you can see one of those baby shrimp on the very tip of that almond leaf. He seems to be enjoying that spot rather nicely. And it's good to see that he's alive and doing well. That looks like a shrimp that's about 2 weeks old. I'm going to leave you guys here with this shot to finish up this week's episode, with the adult Snowball Shrimp climbing on the mountains in the background and the babies exploring the newly added almond leaf in the foreground. It doesn't get any better than this. This is exactly what I created this 30-gallon tank for. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will make sure to get more entrancing footage from the mountains and the forest. Goodbye for now, and make sure to have some sweet shrimpy dreams before we meet next.